Hi everyone, this is Rebecca at BetterBred. I have been helping you guys for many months as we've been trying to get your initial sample to get analyzed, and now that your report is released, I am doing a video walkthrough. If you haven't already, please watch the videos I've already shared to the Facebook group. It will explain the measures that I am going to show you guys today. And today's kind of the culmination of that. I'm going to show you guys our website, how to use it, and how to do test breedings. Okay, so we are on the front page. On our front page, you can create an account and also sign up for our mini course, which is also the videos that I've shared in the group, but all in one place. Down here, if you keep scrolling, you can see the last 10 recently uploaded public dogs, which is interesting to look at if you're following the state of other breeds, so you can see what all has been uploaded. And then down here, you can sign up for our newsletter where you'll get notified of new blogs and things like that. Okay, I'm going to show you guys first some cool things about our website. Here, you can see breed comparisons. I'm going to go to that and show you what you can see. On that page, it's uploaded constantly or updated frequently with the stats of your breed. And I just clicked on your breed profile page. So we're going here first. And you can get to that under breeds and scrolling down to Shikoku. If I butcher the name of your breed and how you say it, I'm really sorry. I am bad with pronunciation. So I don't mean to offend anybody if I do not say your breed's name correctly. So here you can see the current information about your breed. These numbers here are the algorithms, the conservation algorithms on our website. What is the average for your breed? So your average outlier index is 0.41. This means that your breed is well distributed. You don't have a lot of biodiversity as a breed, but what you have, you're doing a good job maintaining. The next, and I call this the bottleneck indicator. So in other breeds with genetic bottlenecks, their average outlier index is much lower. This is the only number on our website you want to go up, become more positive and greater. All the other measurements you want to be more negative. So the next number is average genetic relatedness. Yours is negative 0.04. This means, relatively speaking, within your gene pool, dogs are less related to each other than other breeds are. And I kind of call this the more breeding mates measurement. The more negative this is, the more breeding mates will be unrelated within your breed, relatively speaking. So if I put an Akita Inu into the Shikoku population, your dogs would all seem much closer related to one another than when you have your gene pool without, or say we added a Shiba Inu. So that's what that number is. And we'll go over this some more. And then on average, your breed is slightly more inbred than other breeds with 0.02, but this is not a high inbreeding measurement. So IR, internal relatedness, is the inbreeding measurement. And this is the number that you got on your certificate from UC Davis. It estimates how inbred your individual dog is, and this is the average of the breed. Okay, so going down here, you can see the 10 most recently uploaded dogs that are public. And over here, you can see every single public dog in the database. So I'm going to leave this up right now because I had some people who offered dogs for me, and this is one place that you can find all the dogs, and you can also search for them here. You can also search for a dog up here at Dog Search, and from Dog Search, you can also find the test breeding function. Now, there's other information that you can find on here. You can click through, but one thing I want to point out here that's very interesting, once you get more tested Shikoku, you will be able to see what's happening in your population over time. So if you go, say, to the Italian Greyhound page, you will see that Italian Greyhounds are on average becoming closer related to one another as time goes on, because they have 700 tested Italian Greyhounds. We're seeing what's happening to the population, and that is what we're trying to avoid by using breed management software. So when I do their genetic summary, it'll be interesting for them. Okay, so I'm going to go over here to breed comparisons because I want to show you. First off, this page contains a lot of information, but I wanted to show you that you can see your effective alleles per locus and your average alleles per locus on this page. The average alleles per locus is, if you've read your example or your breed report, you'll see Natalie's analogy to what this means. And then her analogy is, if you have, say, or I'm going to extrapolate it a little bit. Say you have 10 different t-shirt colors. That would be and how many different alleles per locus you're finding. Say we on average found 10 per locus. But then we look at something called effective alleles per locus. And in her example, say if we had 10 different t-shirt colors, but let's say 7 of them are red, your effective t-shirt color would have been red, which would be only 1, even though overall you found 10. So, and that's the same way with this. So the effective alleles, these are the alleles that are actually contributing to your population the most and creating the heterozygosity, versus average alleles are how many overall have been found altogether. And in your breed, you guys are doing a pretty good job maintaining that. So even though you only have on average 4.15 alleles found, you are using 2.41 of them. And that's actually really good in comparison to other breeds. So you can see Shiloh Shepherds have more overall, but they're right around where you guys are. Another example, which is more shocking, would be the standard poodle. They have only using 3.65, but have almost on average 10 found. So as this number, the effective alleles number, drops in relation to the average alleles, we tend to see more breed-specific diseases. So I encourage breeders to visit this page and see what's happening with your effective alleles, because you want to increase those over time. Okay, so I've got your Facebook group open because I have no hope of remembering what people have offered me. So I'm going to go from the breed page to this first bitch that was offered me. So Mayuka. So I'm going to go from here. But again, remember, you can also go by looking at the dog search function to get to a dog. So we're going to go to her profile, and then I'm going to show you a test breeding using the breeding tools. But we can also do test breedings from this test breeding function. Okay, so this is the genetic information on this bitch. You can also give us pedigree links, and that will appear below the date of birth. And you can add your pedigree links by going up here to my account, then to my dogs. Click on your dog's name, and this will expand a panel. Under the panel, you can update information and titles, add pictures, things like that. So it's free right now to add a photo to your dog. So I would recommend doing that too for people looking for studs and bitches. This button here will compare your bitch to any other dog in our database, be they spayed, neutered, male, or female. So that's a very useful tool. And if I remember at the end, I will show you that and how you might use it. Advanced analysis, this will go over this information I'm going to go over in more detail. So if you take our full trial, you can access that, and that will explain all this information I'm going to go over more. Okay, so the very first thing that we have here is the DLA haplotypes. Haplotypes are genes that travel together. They do not, or large sections of DNA that travel together, kind of like a set of dishes travels, is Natalie's example. So these two will always travel together. This is the class 1 DLA haplotype. This is the class 2 DLA haplotype. It looks like your breed frequencies aren't yet in, but once these are in the database, these will update with what percentage of dogs carry these DLA haplotypes in our database. So this dog, you can see, has 2 different class 2 DLA haplotypes and 2 different class 1 haplotypes. We tell you to focus on this very last. Don't focus on the DLA first, because remember, the DLA is just a portion of your dog's genome. And so we say to look at this last when all else is equal in a breeding. So again, class 2, these pairings will generally travel together. 2123 will travel with 1229, and 2018 will travel with 1191. So puppies will inherit this set, or this set. Okay, so again, we say to focus on that last. We encourage people to focus on these 3 measurements first: outlier index, average genetic relatedness, and internal relatedness. So what do these measurements mean? Outlier index, again, this is kind of what I call the pulse of a bottleneck. As this number drops, a breed is breeding towards a genetic bottleneck. Your breed has a very high average outlier index, which means that you are not breeding towards a bottleneck. Now, this might change as we test more Shikoku around the world. We don't know quite yet if there might be a bottleneck. It depends on how good of a job we have done with this initial sample. So this bitch is a little bit below breed average, but still, this is fairly high. It means that she has genetics that are slightly more typical for the breed than other Shikoku. Uh, so her genetics are more well represented within the breed. Going down to AGR, I call this the breeding mate number. So the lower this number, the less related a dog is to other dogs in our database, meaning that they'll have more breeding mates that are unrelated. So she is slightly more, or she is more related to other Shikoku than on average other Shikoku are. And you would kind of guess this since she is slightly more typical for the breed. So these two measurements are inversely proportionate. So this is kind of how you would expect it to go. So this means she'll have less breeding mates in our database than other Shikoku. Okay, so then going on to the internal relatedness. She is more outbred than is typical for the breed. As you remember, our breed average was 0.02. A negative IR is estimates that a dog or bitch is more outbred. So the genes received from the sire and dam are different from each other. And then again, this is another inbreeding estimate, which also says here she is slightly less inbred than is typical for the breed. If you add health information and temperament information, this will show up here. And you can also, here's her color. Now I'm going to go up to breeding tools and explain what each of these tools means. Outlier index, this helps prevent or mitigate a bottleneck. Your breed does not have a bottleneck. But by selecting this one, this will prioritize dogs with higher OIs in the database. Again, this is similar to OI, but AGR means you would be looking for dogs that are less related to other dogs in our database. If you select this, it'll rank within our categories. And then this does not put any ranking. It'll just make your dogs be unrelated. But all of these are the other two. These two are also it's ranking two things, so both the genetic relatedness and these two things. So I usually use one of these two, outlier index or AGR, and then this one you can look for color. This is our comparison tool. This is free. You do not need a full membership to use it. You will not be able to use our software, but you can compare one-on-one dogs to one another. So I'm going to click here, and I am going to look for the first stud that was offered to me, Rumo, Enzo, Go, yeah, I'm sorry. I will not try to say the names of some of these because I would have trouble. So there's two ways that you can look for dogs in the database. If you know one-on-one what dog you want to breed to, you can go up to test breedings and click here, or you can do control find. See how this popped up a window, and I would type in Enzo. And as it turns out, this dog is just number one unrelated dog to this particular bitch, which is very uncommon. That almost never happens. The other dog that was offered, stud dog, was Juro, and I don't know where he fits. He's not in the category 10. So here in our breedings, we have category 10 all the way to category 1. A category 10 breeding would be unrelated, meaning that you are that these dogs are not related to one another by according to our breed management software and our algorithms. If you go all the way to category 1, which there shouldn't be any, this would be an identical twin. So here you can click through the closest related dogs to this particular bitch in the database are these. So you can look to see what dogs are related. Okay, so here's all the unrelated dogs. This breeding is done. When you want to do a test breeding, make sure you drop down to 3,000 puppies. This will give you better data in your breed summaries. Now, the analysis page gives you a lot of the information in more detail. The summary gives you the actual visuals. I prefer the visuals myself. So you can see that this boy has a very high outlier index, which means that he has genetics that are less well represented in this particular breed. As a bonus, then, he also has more breeding mates he is unrelated to with a very negative AGR. And he is outbred. genetically unrelated, or genetically his parents were unrelated from each other, relatively speaking. Now, again, I have to say that your data will change as more dogs are tested and we learn more about the population structure of the Shikoku. Now, if you guys had added photos, those would show up here. So let's look at this breeding and what it looks like genetically. So I always encourage people, despite no matter where the dogs are showing up in the categories, please run your test breeding so you know what to expect in your dogs and bitches and your predicted puppies. So here let's start at the internal relatedness. Again, this is how inbred your puppies will be predicted to be. This is 3,000 simulated puppies, and it gives you a graph to show you where they will fall genetically. So according to Dr. Peterson, within a population, a highly inbred dog would have an IR of 0.15. So know here, if you look, about this much of the litter. So I'm going to maybe say 1/6 or 1/8 of the litter, that's an estimate, and it would be all the dogs under here. So if you look at this as a whole, it would be this proportion of the graph would be highly inbred. So I would say that this is pretty good breeding because there's not too many puppies that would be highly inbred, but it could happen. As you can see on the graph, it's just not a high likelihood. And the average is below 0, which we recommend. And then a lot of the puppies will be falling into this outbred area. So again, this is outbred in relation to your gene pool. If we were to stick a unrelated breed into your gene pool, your IR would go way up because it is relatively speaking, and you have a very small gene pool. So relatively speaking, these will be outbred relative to other dogs in your breed. But if you were to look at other breeds in comparison to yours, your dogs would look more inbred, which is what we've talked about in your breed report. Okay, so back over here to outlier index. Again, this measurement helps you prevent or mitigate a bottleneck. Your breed does not have a bottleneck, but it will help you maintain those average alleles per locus that we talked about earlier. It'll help you maintain your biodiversity that you do have, since you do not have very much. Okay, so the average here is 0.47, which is above your breed average. This is the only number we want to go up. So this is above the breed average. There will be some that fall below the breed average, but it is not that many, because remember, your breed average is about, I think, 0.41. So I would say, in terms of OI and AGR, this is a good breeding. Now, the very last thing we look at is the DLA haplotypes. And this breeding, they share a DLA haplotype, but it may be difficult to get 4 different DLA haplotypes. So this would mean that 25% of the puppies would be homozygous, but the other 75% of the litter would not be. So I would say overall, this is a pretty good breeding. Okay, so I am going to go, let me pull up another dog's page. I'm not sure if I don't know what this dog's name actually was. Let's do a dog search. Let's see if I can find, I don't know how that dog was misspelled. So I may not be able to pull it up. But if you need to change a dog's name, it is easy to do. You just go to my account, go to my dogs, and then once you're on my dog's page, click on your dog's name, and you can see. And I don't know if this is that dog. You can change the name under update information. I'm gonna pull up Yumi because I don't know if that is the right dog from Paula. My apologies, Paula. But again, I'm going to search the dog, and I'm going to show you guys the genetic relationships that you can use from a dog's profile. I assume this is, let's see, Yumi. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to go to her page, and I'm going to show you guys, we'll talk about what her genetics say about her, and then I'm going to show you the genetic relationships and how you might use those. So here she is homozygous for the DLA haplotype 2018 or 1191 2018. And again, this will update to tell you what percentage of the tested alleles are those things at some point. So you'll be able to see how common or uncommon your DLA haplotypes are. Her outlier index is below breed average, meaning that her genetics are well represented in this breed and less likely to be lost to genetic drift. But again, your breed has a high outlier index, so that would be easy to raise in the next generation by selecting a dog with one that is higher. And she is more related to other dogs in the database. Again, not surprising given her outlier index. These two are inversely proportionate to one another. So this means she has less breeding mates in the database than the typical Shikoku that are unrelated. She is very outbred, relatively speaking, to the rest of the breed. That means her parents were unrelated to one another, and that is then again shown by this other inbreeding estimate that is lower than the breed average. Okay, so genetic relationships. This will allow you to look at other dogs in the database, be they bitch or stud, and we can do cool things with it that I'll talk about. So you can see the dogs that are closest related to this bitch in the database, which would be this one. I don't know if these are actually genetically related, but they are the equivalent of 3/4 siblings. So one thing I tell people you can do once we have more dogs in the database and you've tested generations, which I have, you can look at these categories, and I have tested full litters. So if I had a uncle, say to my bitch, and she had puppies, I can look at my puppies and look at the ones I'm considering keeping and see which ones, say the uncle of my or of those puppies had a genetic disease. I can look at the categories of the puppies, how closely related they are to that uncle. Meaning, if I have a puppy, I have two puppies I'm considering, and one is much closer related to that uncle who was unhealthy than another. Say that uncle appears in category 4 of one puppy and a category 3 of another. I might decide that I want to keep the one that's less related to that dog that was unhealthy. Alternatively, say I had a grandam down the line who was very, very healthy, lived a very long time, and never was sick a day in her life. I can look at the puppies and see which one is closer related to that grandam, and then maybe I would decide to keep that one. So that's one cool thing you can do with these category relations, because even when a dog is spayed and neutered, they will show up in these categories. Another thing you can do is if you are thinking about bringing a new dog into your program, you can check to see if a sire and dam are unrelated to dogs in your own program you might want to breed them to. So say you have a bitch, you're thinking about getting your own stud, you can look to see how closely related your bitch is to the sire and dam of a potential litter. So if both those dogs are in a category 10 to your dog, it's likely that a puppy from that litter will also be unrelated to your bitch. So that's a pretty cool use of our database. Once you have more dogs tested and in, you will be able to play with that. Again, I'm going to show you guys the My Dogs page just so you know how to use it. But I hope this was helpful. I'm happy to answer questions in our group. But I'm going to show you. So here's one of my stud dogs. It's free to add one photo even with a free membership currently. So you can do that here. Click add another photo. You can go to their profile from here. If you turn off the profile, no one will be able to see it except for you. And then, so if you want to add titles and or change the name, you would go here to update info. And if you want to add any health testing results, you would click here. Now, we only verify health test results for people with full memberships. And if you do have a full membership, you can email us the results if they are not listed to OFA, and then we will verify the health results on our website. But for free, we do a lot. We analyze your dogs for free. You have a free comparison tool, and currently you can for free upload a photo. So you can change all these things in the database. Yep. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and we will answer. Thanks for watching.